Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas.
Linda Marty didn't even give me a watch for Christmas, Linda. Come on now. But it's Tuesday night. We know what time it is. A brand new Wrestling Insiders at your house is next. Wrestling fans, we explode into Christmas for the 9th annual Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive Cyber Fan Fest. A human sea of superstar guests have come to MWF Studios for live interviews, tributes, and virtual autograph signings. The good news is, if you miss these superstar signings, we have individual autograph photos available as well as all-inclusive VIP packages throughout the season. If you want them for yourself or to give us a holiday gift for Christmas, get the order in by December the 19th. On Christmas night, we'll reveal the winner of the massive Christmas Week Mega Raffle, where one lucky fan wins an entire jackpot of prizes, again, to benefit the Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive. 2020 has been a brutal year for the economy, as well as our toy drive efforts. We could use any and all the help you could give us. Be part of the professional wrestling community. If you're going to take part in any toy drive this year, let it be one where we update Santa Claus's GPS and honor Paul Bearer's memory. Head on over to BostonWrestling.com now.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
All right, wrestling fans, welcome to another brand new Wrestling Insiders at your house, the final installment of 2020, Tony. Can you believe it?
The year went by so quickly.
That's one way to look at it.
But it was a good year. And I don't know how much time I got to explain this, Dan, but I was watching on CNN last night, and they were shown 1980 influenza flu.
Yeah.
And what it was so amazing about it, it was so much like today. My mother said, learn from history or you're bound to repeat it. It's like every 100 years, it's strange that happened in 1918, and then we get it again in 2019. So I'm hoping that in the world of wrestling, it repeats itself.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something?
Maybe to have another Hulkamania. It may not be Hulk.
Yeah.
It may be another Mania. Or who's going to be the next Andre the Giant. So there's so many great characters of the past that have not been often imitated, but never duplicated.
There you go.
Who would be the next Bruno Sammartino or superstar Billy Graham? It will happen.
I don't know.
It will happen. When I look back on my past, I'm a crossbreed between Sweet Daddy Seeker.
One way to put it.
Sweet Daddy Seeker and Sailor Art Thomas.
Uh-huh.
I had the wrestler ability of a Seeker because he was a high flyer. He could drop kick, head scissor, do area move, and wrestler. Sailor Art Thomas, the strength and development. So they already been redone through Tony Atlas and Butch Reed and Ron Summers. But neither one of them was airborne. I was airborne.
You were airborne.
I was airborne, along with the Jimmy Slooker. You know, all these. I'm interested to see in the wrestling world how much of a repetitious we gonna get, because the law of nature, everything go in a cycle.
What's old is new again.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, for the fans of ours, Tony, that are on Patreon, we're going to have a special, exclusive New Year's Eve special for them. If you're interested in seeing Tony on New Year's Eve, head on over to Patreon now, patreon.com/Boston Wrestling, where for the cost of a cup of coffee down at Starbucks, you get early ad-free access to all of our great in-studio shoot interviews. You get access to the entire DVD collection, and you're going to get exclusive Patreon bonus content, like something that Tony and I are going to tape a little bit later on for you to enjoy New Year's Eve or watch whenever you want to. Almost like Tony is devouring the wing right now.
Happy New Year to you.
All right.
Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year, America. Happy New Year to you.
Don't forget to tip the bartender.
And I won't forget to keep my day job.
All right, Tony, since we were last here, we have lost a couple of the brothers, members of the Brotherhood. You know, we like to acknowledge those that have passed. The big one, the Hall of Famer, a man you lived with for, I believe, 8 weeks. And Legends House, Pat Patterson is gone.
Yeah, good riddance.
Good riddance.
Yeah. Good riddance.
Why do you say good riddance to Pat?
Pat hurt a lot of people's careers, including mine.
How?
When he was the booker, he had Vince's ear. So guys would trust Pat because he was one of the boys. So they would go and tell their grief to Pat. Pat's idea was, get rid of him. You don't need him. Get rid of him. You don't need him. If you look at all the people that, when Pat took over the booker, there was no longer with the WWE. Like Captain Lou Albano. A lot of guys. I mean, it's just like he just clean slate. And he brought in, as we used to call in the old time, as George Adams Theater used to call it, pretty boys.
Pretty boys.
Pretty boy.
Yeah.
He fired S.D. Jones because S.D. would not let him play with him. True.
Pat wanted to play with
S.D.
SD's special delivery package.
And S.D. said no. Yeah. Me and Pat, we had problems when me and Rocky got into a fist fight in the back of the dressing room, and Pat went to break it up, and I accidentally hit Pat. And S.D. told me right there, he said, even though it was an accident, Tony, he said, I think he's going to get rid of you. And sure enough, S.D. was right. But
who did you get into a fight with?
Rocky Johnson.
Oh, you and Rocky got into a fist fight in a locker room?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Pat went to break it up and got nailed accidentally. But he always held that against me. He told Vince, one time I went to Pat, that was the time Vince was trying to drive me off a lot. And he said, I said, Pat, why did you talk to Vince? I said, I've been here for, 2 years. I went 2 straight days. I said, I put over everybody, pull over. I was never late for a show. I didn't cause him any problem. This was between, I think, 86 and 80. Right
Probably 84 to 86.
Yeah, right after I left.
Because you left in 86.
Yeah, what I did, I left AWA.
Right.
And Vince convinced me to come back. But he put me over for about the first month, and then after that, it was job. And I couldn't figure out why. And he said, well, you should talk to him, Tony. But if it was up to me, knowing how moody you are, I would never hire you back.
Who said this, Pat?
Patterson, yeah.
Were you moody at that time?
Not for them last 2 years.
No.
I mean, I couldn't kiss more butt. I kissed Vince ass so much that if he got kicked in the butt, I'd get a nosebleed.
Well,
I had my nose stuck right up his behind, and everybody. I was kissing everybody, but you saw the people I put over. I put over Adonis. I put over everybody. I put over everybody, except for the referee. That's the only person that didn't beat me for them 2 years with a referee. But Vince came to me one day. He said, I can't use you on bottom because you're too good, and I can't use you on top. And he walked away.
Do you think Pat Patterson wanted to use
well,
you
he
as
told me
a
out of his
bottom?
own mouth. He said, if it was up to me, I would not hire you. If it was up to me. And during that time, he had Vince's ear. Because Vince relied on him, the veteran, just like a senior relied on Monsoon and Freddie Blassie and other wrestlers to help him, run thing. But the booker is the guy that is the closest to the boss's ear, because George Scott was the booker with the Crockett's. And George Scott would go in and he would talk for certain people and get people a good break. No, I don't think Pat did anybody any favor. I don't think anybody misses him. To be honest,
You don't
I hate
think
to say
anyone
it,
misses
I
Pat?
don't think so.
No.
No. Probably those that went to bed with him, but other than that, I don't think none of the boys will.
Do you think?
I don't think Bill Eadie would miss him. Axe Demolition.
Now, why wouldn't Bill Eadie miss him?
Because they was all there during the time. I was there with them guys. All of us were underneath Pat. There was
in more ways than one, I guess,
a lot of us guys was underneath Patterson. We knew how Pat was. We had that book.
Did Pat ever make a move on you?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Just SD.
Just SD.
Now, why do you think that was?
Well, SD was always
You
flashy.
think he had more power? Oh,
No.
SD was flashy.
Yeah, he was always flashy. When I come out the shower, I used to go in the shower, and I would dry off in the shower, and I would wrap a towel around me, not exposing myself to the rest of the dressing room. SD just walk around naked.
He was proud of his manhood.
Yeah, he was. And he showed it off a lot. I guess old Pat got, Virgil used to stand in the shower and twirl his around like a helicopter.
Really?
Yeah, Virgil got a real long one. He would string that thing around like a helicopter.
I never had that problem.
And Pat was sitting in the dressing room going.
Pat enjoyed the show.
Yep, used to piss Kurt Hennig off. Kurt hated that. That's why a lot of
Virgil
guys,
would use his
that Virgil would do that.
manhood is like a propeller.
Well, not only that, he just didn't like that type of interaction between men.
You're talking about Mr. Perfect now.
Right,
Yeah.
Mr. Kurt Hennig. And he used to get so angry at Virgil. One time, I had to stop from punching Virgil. He said, "Don't walk around in front of me like that." He was very what called what people that anti-gay, what the name, antiphobia?
Homophobic?
Homophobia. Yeah. Kurt Hennig was homophobia. Yeah, he didn't like any type of anything man on man type of. His father was the same way.
Larry the Accenting.
Yeah, because they were like
good
man, man, that's that type of upbringing, which I respect them for it.
Yeah.
But my mother raised us to be accepting of those, even if they don't agree with your way of living or whatever, to be respectable towards their wish. You don't have to get involved with them now, just to be the friend, but Chinese people don't have nothing to eat chicken wings. Y'all don't eat chicken wings good.
Now you can still respect someone though.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this: do you remember your first encounter with Pat? Was it before he was a booker in WWF and still a worker?
Yeah. Well, he used to. I worked against him many times in Canada, Mid-Atlantic, everywhere. Him and Ray Stevens, the crippler, they were tag team partners. And Ray Stevens and the crippler, I wrestled against them many times. And then on my debut in Madison Square Garden, if you should look up the card, this was the card: Pat Patterson, Ivan Putski, and Tony Atlas versus Peter Maivia and the Wild Samoa.
Wow.
That was my debut.
Wow.
In Madison Square Garden.
Now let me ask you this. Long before you met Pat as a member of the office of the World Wrestling Federation, what did you think of him as one of the boys, as one of the workers? What did you think of him in the ring?
He was a great worker. I mean, he was a fantastic worker. Not as good as Ray.
You think Ray was a little better?
Oh, Ray was probably better than Fly all of them.
Really?
I mean, the crippler, Ray, the crippler. I mean, he was really the leader of the team. It's kind of like Rip Hawk and Sweet Hamster. Once they took Rip Hawk away, Sweet Hamster just hit the bottom. And then it's the same thing with the Fabulous Freebird. Once Micah Hayes was out of it, it really was no Freebird without Micah Hayes. Kind of like the Jackson 5. Once Micah was gone, no more Jackson 5.
The other four didn't have much to
right,
offer.
like the Supreme. When Diana Ross left, the Supreme just couldn't make without Diana. He was like the center point. Ray was like the center point of that team. Ray made Pat. Pat was a young kid at that time, from Canada and barely spoke English. And Ray the Crippler was already over with the public before they teamed them up. So that's what made that team such a great team. And they would do that with a lot of people. The first young team that I guess they would team that I can remember they teaming up was me and Tommy Rich. They would normally put a younger wrestler with an older wrestler.
You guys worked Patterson and Stevens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they would normally put an older wrestler with a younger wrestler too. And Barnett changed all that. He would put two young wrestlers together, for the first time, like the Rock and Roll Express, all these young, same age guys. But you look back at the older days, like even Johnny Weaver, he teamed up with Nelson Raw, who was older than Johnny. Nelson Raw was. But that's if you look at
And it's a good synergy to
Right.
have where they can teach the young
like
guys
Gene,
on the road.
Gene
yeah.
was older than Ole. Ole was the youngest of that group during that time, you know. And then Lars Anderson was older than both Gene and Ole.
It's like Howard and Jackie in the control room.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, fabulous team. I think it's unfortunate that at the time when they were hit their peak, there wasn't a lot of footage of them that is saved nowadays that the fans can access to see just how good they were. When people tell me what a great team Stevens and Patterson were, I have to take it by mouth, and depending upon the person, my level of respect for their opinion, because there isn't a heck of a lot of footage of the two of them. There's some
there's a
footage
lot
of
of
Ray
stuff.
Stevens is a single, but Ray Stevens was closer to the end than the beginning of the footage that's available. You know what I mean?
But that is not true.
It's not true. Where is
What
there a lot
happened-
of Ray Stevens footage?
What a lot of the stuff from Georgia Championship Wrestling I know were bought by one guy. Well, he hate Vince so much that he said he'd rather set it in the room and let it rot before Vince get over
Really?
it.
Do you know who it is?
No, but Ron West would know.
Is he someone in the business or out of the
Well,
business?
he used to be in the business.
Okay.
He was with Georgia Championship Wrestling, but he kept all the tapes from Georgia Championship
so he just
Wrestling.
doesn't want WWE to have it.
And these tapes, they're not going to last long.
He needs to transfer them, if nothing else, onto digital.
But they still got it on the same.
Wow.
And a lot of that stuff did that old AWA tape. And then when Vince bought the franchises, he took a lot of these tapes and set them on the shelf where nobody could see. So that big turnover with Vince took over, he lost a lot of stuff. Just like you can't even find a tape of Bruno Sammartino hardly, as much as he wrestled in the Gardens, you know. The only tape you get of Bruno is in the Gardens because the Gardens kept tapes.
Right, yeah.
And they got the rights to the tape. But outside of Madison Garden, you don't see Bruno. Superstar Billy Graham tried to find a match of him. You know, Vince bought all this stuff and set it on the shelf.
Well, a lot of the problem is almost like what you mentioned with the man that bought the Georgia collection. It takes a long time. They have to, and I know people at WWE Network that do this, is their full-time job. They have to sit through the entire tape, match by match by match by match, and catalog it. So it's a very lengthy process.
Of course.
It's going to take them, maybe not years, but decades for them to go through everything that they have.
And a lot of people bought them tapes. You know, when Vince was taking over, they grabbed the tapes.
Yeah.
And they kept them. Now, I know this guy in Georgia, and every time I hear about him, he just pissed me off. I said, why he just don't sell them to somebody and use them? They said, no. He said he'd rather burn them before he let Vince have them.
You'd
Well,
think
it was
if
the
he
same
bought
thing.
the rights to it, you'd think he'd want to try and market them himself. Make some money off of them,
They,
Almost like the Houston collection.
well,
That
he
was-
probably don't know how. You see, people are funny. You ever see the thing about a guy, he don't want this woman, but he don't want nobody else to have her, but he don't want her.
Right.
Or this woman don't want. It's kind of that type of mentality.
It's like Jackie in the other room. He has that problem with all the girls
Well,
at
I don't
college.
know that young man that well, but I do know there are people in this world that they rather destroy something before they let somebody else have it. I got a brother named Norris. He's a neat freak. And I had to go to something in school, and I had no clean clothes. Well, he had this nice pair of pants that was clean. So I put them on just to wear to the event.
Yeah.
I didn't dirty them or nothing. I brought back and I hung them up all nicely. Everything. He found out that I tested his pants. He tore them up.
Really?
He couldn't wear them anymore.
Norris
Somebody else
didn't
wear 'em.
want you to wear the pants.
And that's my brother, but that's the way he is. If you wear it,
Just because he's a neat freak? Really?
Once you touch it, he won't touch
Or
it.
maybe a germaphobe might be a better way
Right.
to describe
Yeah,
him.
we used to make fun of him when he was a kid. If I want a piece of chicken that he was eating, I would touch it with my finger.
And then he'd give it to you?
Yeah.
I'm kind of the same way. There's very few people I'd share food with like that.
Once they touch it, you want.
I know.
Yeah, he won't touch it.
You want to know how I am? I would just say I had an order of chicken wings like you. Instead of you touching my chicken wing, I'd rather give you the money or loan you the money to buy your own chicken wings.
Yeah.
That's just. It's not that I'm rude. Or that I don't want to share?
You are
it's
what you
just
are.
there's something crazy.
Yeah,
as Linda would say, there's
right,
a few things that are crazy
you
about me,
are.
but that's
well,
one
I'm
of them.
not good about drinking. Like if you drink out of something, I won't drink out there.
Yeah.
Nobody. I mean, once you put your mouth on, I'm not good about drinking stuff.
You know
Because
who
guys
I'm-
would try to share a beer. Hey, want to drink? I get my own.
The kids, for whatever reason, I've never had a problem with them having some of my food or having a drink or whatnot. Like when I think I told you, I just took the kid down to Florida with me when I had some wrestling work down there a couple weeks ago.
Right.
And I don't have a problem with him having a sip out of my cup or a can or something like that. But as far as anyone else, not for me, Tony. But
Yeah.
Did you ever work, Patterson, as a singles?
Never did.
You never had a singles match with Pat? Just
No.
tag matches?
Always tag matches.
Yeah.
Never. Ever since they, 'cause then they gave him the Continental belt, and it wasn't too long after that they made him a booker.
Right.
But Patterson always was in a singer until they made him the first Continental champion. Because even in New York, he was tagged up with me and Albert Puskett, a 6-man tag.
Yeah. Now, Patterson is, amongst his peers, rated amongst one of the best as far as an in-ring wrestler, in-ring worker goes. Would you
By
put
who?
him that high?
By who put him there?
His peers.
But they didn't see none of his matches.
You don't consider him to be one of the better workers that you were in there with? Really?
No, I don't.
Wow. Now, is that, do you think, due to personal animosity or just
No,
your
no, it's just
professional
that-
opinion?
No, it's just that you go by, see, a worker could put asses in the seat. He was never what you call a main eventer. Think about it.
You wouldn't consider him a draw?
He never put him in the main event.
As far as his working ability, would you put him up there high?
A worker put asses in the seat.
All right, let me try and rephrase it.
Hogan
then.
was one of the best workers.
As far as his in-ring ability to put together an enjoyable match, would
Oh
you
yeah,
rank him high?
was genius.
Oh, okay.
I would put
all
him
right.
in the same category as Johnny Weaver and that type of group. They have. He didn't have the ability like Ray Stevens. Ray developed followers. There's something about a wrestler, like a Ted DiBiase. He just had it. Even when he was young, had no body, no name or no nothing. He in Mid-South, he in no time at all became one of the top stars. Buck Robley. Buck Robley looked like somebody scraped off from a railroad track.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
He looked
yeah.
like something you found hanging out pull out of a dumpster. But he could put that butt in the seat. Junk Wild Dog, who didn't know a wrist lock from a headlock, could just pack them arenas. See, when we look at workers, we look at the wrestling ability, their ability in the ring. But I learned later in my life, a worker, the idea with the old time say, you work the people, you don't let the people work you. These guys knew how to work the people in a way that they would come and see them.
Right.
And then you had guys who were doing drop kick, moonsault, this flip, and that flip, and that flip, and this move and that move. And you go to the house like wrestling too, outstanding wrestler and performer. And very few people can perform under a mask because you don't have facial expression.
It's tough under a mask,
Johnny
yeah.
Walker. Johnny Walker was about the best guy that could sell underneath a mask. I mean, he could do it in a way that Tony spilling stuff everywhere. Don't worry, Dan. I got it now.
All right.
Yeah.
I had no doubt.
But that's what I found out was a worker, like Dusty Rhodes.
yeah.
What was Dusty Rhodes' favorite move? He didn't have one.
Would you consider Ray Stevens to have been a good draw?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what made Pat, see. A worker, the term worker means work the public.
Yeah.
The term mark meant sucker. Pretty much same a sucker, or pretty nicely, the consumers.
The consumers.
The consumers,
The
yeah.
consumers. All right. Well, there you go. And
And a good salesman They're not the best looking people in the office. They're not the best built person in the office. The person make the most sales. And he didn't make big sales. Not like a Hogan, not like a Bruno. And that's what a promoter looked at as being a great worker. Not how well you could work with your opponent, but how well you could work with the public.
Where would you put, I lost my train of thought there. As far as Patterson goes, how did he change once he became an office man? Did you consider him a stooge? Was he someone that couldn't be trusted, in your opinion?
Well, that's what Vince did. He was a stooge when he went in office. See? That's what Vince did. He exposed them all. He made them, that same day that he made Patterson the booker, he took all of his stooges and made them agents. That was the first year of the agents.
Oh, I see. The Strongbows and the Grays.
Right. There was no agent before. Schoner was not an agent. Schoner was one of the partners in WWF. You
had the Halliburton to get the cash.
Right. Monsoon. And then they became agents after they sold their shares of the business. That's when they started agent. So Patterson came along at the beginning of the agents. There was no agent before. The referee was the agent when the promoter was not there. Like if the promoter couldn't make it,
yeah,
the Mario Savodi or Angelo Savodi would be running things for the promoter, but they had no agent. So whenever the promoter couldn't make it, you had promoters that had different territories. Like Schoner did all upstate New York. Vince did Connecticut. Monsoon did Jersey, and he did Pittsburgh.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he had Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh belonged to Monsoon, and then a guy named Phil Zaka did Philly, and all the rest of them. And the Savodis, they had Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire. There was a guy around here at Boston we called him Cookie.
Cookie?
Cookie.
Cookie?
Yeah, it
like
was
the
in the
Cookie
Boston
Monster?
Area. Yeah, it was like Cookie. There was an old man, and he used to run things in the Boston area. I think Massachusetts had two people that worked this area, and the McMahon had Cape Cod. They ran Cape Cod. In fact, they lived out there at first.
Vince Jr. owned the arena, down in Cape Cod.
They do?
They did. They sold it since.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I know that we used to do that, and that was the McMahon. So, and all these guys, they worked together to form one company, you know? But there was no agent. But then, I remember Morocco said, now we know who all the Stooges was. So he made them open.
Steele became an agent?
They all became agents, yeah. Everybody, Rene Goulet and all them guys. Because I was riding with Goulet one time, and when George Scott was the booker of the WWF. And I said, George, how do you know this? He said, who you been riding with all week? They would have told me. Who were you riding with all week? And then it hit me. I said, Rene Goulet. And I was so nice to undercard guy. I would pay for the gas. I would pay for the hotel room.
Really?
I would pay for their food. Well, top guys done that. Mm-hmm. Like you hear about, you go set the table with Andre. He picks up the tab. All the top, Bruno, pick up the tab. Flair, pick up the tab. All the guys did that. Mulligan, they all did it. Because we was making 150, 200,000 a year. These guys were making probably about 50 or 60 a year. So and they had
it was a big help to them to help.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
their
That's why a lot of these
expenses.
guys they used to love hanging out with Big Star. Like Brutus Beefcake first started. You know, he hung in Hogan, so you know, he got a lot of meals he didn't pay for.
Free meals?
Free meals and you know, hotel rooms and stuff like that. You know, the rent-a-car. You know, Hogan paid for the rent-a-car and all this and that stuff. But the business changed a great deal. Now, when I was traveling with Mark Henry, I didn't get that type of treatment.
Mark didn't take care of the
Mark
meal.
in the ass dressed over a bass drum. You don't spend no money. Smart. Teddy Long is like that too.
I've heard about Teddy. I didn't know that about Mark.
Well, Mark is not stingy. Mm-hmm. You know, he spends money on himself. He's not like, say, tight. But he don't, let's put it this way. He's very wise with his money. He budget.
Smart with his money.
Smart with his money. He's not stingy, but very, very smart with his money. Just like we get a rent-a-car, you know, Mark, we look for his half. Yeah. What might have for the rent-a-car. So, He's not going to pay for a rental car and you ride in it too. And he's not going to pay for a room and you sleeping in it. So everything you do with Mark is 50-50.
Let me ask you this. Back to the tribute we're having to Pat Patterson. You, as we noted, you wound up living with the man in Legend's house.
Right.
Did your opinion change about Pat at all,
Nope.
living with him? No. Now, what was it like to live with Pat Patterson?
Well, you saw it. He kept his distance from me.
Well, what fans saw was a very edited version of the 6 weeks you
well, the
lived
same
together.
thing. They put the most exciting parts.
Oh, I see. Did you ever enjoy a cocktail with Pat?
Well, we laugh and joke at bars, but all of the boys did that. But like I said, he never,
Even on Legend's house, you didn't
right.
trust
If you
him.
stop and look at it, think about it.
Yeah.
The guy that was most vocal with me on Lead Night was Hillbilly Jim, which surprised me. You always get a perception of people.
Now, why did that surprise you?
Well, he being a hillbilly and
Yeah.
me being black,
Yeah, well.
So automatically, you know what you think. Big old redneck, don't like black people. Come to find out, the redneck was my only friend there. And all the city slickers, all the one I thought was going to be my friend, turned out. And the guy that surprised me the most was Hacksaw.
That you wound up didn't getting along with Hacksaw. Yeah. Now,
What shocked me,
did you have any interaction with Pat that was positive or negative in the house?
nope,
Nothing good, nothing bad.
right.
You just kind of stayed away from each other.
Well, we couldn't stay away, but
Yeah, well, you lived in the same house.
he didn't go
yeah.
out his way to do nothing with me, and I didn't go out my way to be with him. So, you watch the story, you can see it on the tape.
Well, like you said, you were there for 6 weeks, and they only aired
He
several
spent most of the
episodes.
time with Mean Gene.
Having some cocktails.
With Mean Gene, if you look at all the tape, it's him and Mean Gene, him and Mean Gene, him and Mean Gene.
Having some beverages.
Yep, or playing cards. Yeah, because it was office.
Yeah. Well,
See, that was the funny thing about that Legend House. Everybody there at the time was part of the office except for me and Hillbilly.
how
that
Mean
Hacksaw.
Gene was part of the office?
Mean Gene, of course. Announcers are part of the office, yeah.
Yeah, that would be considered office?
Yeah, that's office. Yeah, the announcers are office, yeah.
And what about Duggan?
Douglas was not part of the office.
Well, Hillbilly, even because Hillbilly had that job with Coliseum Video, so he was kind of.
He was kind of office
Yeah.
too. That's right. See,
Yeah.
They were all just office personnel, except for me and probably Hacksaw.
I'm trying to think of who else was on
Jimmy
the
Hart
show.
was part of the office. He still is, if you ask me.
You think so?
Oh yeah, he got a lot to say. So he still do things with them off and on. So yeah, they all was pretty much part of the office. That whole Legend House thing.
So you didn't really make amends with Pat.
Well, I didn't become an enemy of him. Let's put it that way. We were not enemies, but
You just weren't friends.
associates would be the best word for it.
But you still had a dislike for him.
I never had a dislike for him.
Oh,
no.
really? You
No.
said, well, when we mentioned him that he passed away, you said good riddance.
Yeah, because he hurt a lot of people's career, and now he's gonna meet them people. He hurt a lot of people's career, brother.
Do you think he was jealous of Lanny's special skill?
I don't know what Pat thinking was, to be honest with you.
Well, do you think maybe he wishes he could do it?
Not really.
No, he'd rather do it to someone else.
Young boy, yeah.
Yeah.
That
Well,
young
I
boy, yeah.
don't know about
Not
that,
his
but-
old wrinkled up tube.
Well, Pat had a rough last couple of years, and now he's gone on to that big locker room in the sky, which just keeps growing and growing
Judgment.
and growing and growing.
He's going to judgment.
Judgment Day.
He's going to judgment. He's being judged right now. And that's not why it's not my place to judge him or anyone else. He are being judged right down by the Almighty.
All right, well,
And if he figured that he did the best he could do in this world for people, then he's going to be blessed. But he probably left here with millions of dollars in the bank.
and he was a single man. I know he was rather close with Sylvain Grenier of La Resistance. I don't know if you're
But you
familiar
see,
with
here's
him.
the thing about money. My mother used to always say, you can't take it with you. There was so much good that he could have done before he left here. He could have sent that money over to some type of fund or or something, you know. I always hear about these people damn millionaires with millions of dollars in the bank. They're on their deathbed and they won't give up a penny.
If you had $1 million,
dollars.
what would you do with it?
I would put it in my will that when I pass, first of all, I would take care of my kids and grandkids. That first and foremost.
Pat didn't have that.
Right.
Though, yeah.
But I would leave something back for those that less fortunate than myself. I would give it to some fund or something, you know, like the veterans. I'd probably give it to veterans administration, you know, because I know a lot of vets, and a lot of them I know is poor.
It's what?
Poor.
Oh, poor.
Yeah, they don't have nothing, especially them Vietnam vets, man. I mean, some of them guys are poor. Not all of them, but a large majority of them, you know, are poor. You got a lot of people that work, we call our first responders now because of COVID virus. A lot of these CNA, nurses assistants, they don't make a lot of money. No. And they do the most of the work.
They do a lot of work.
So I would like to put up a fund for them that every holiday, that they would get a nice bonus. Yeah. You know, at the end of at around this time of the year, you know, where each one of them would get a bonus.
Well, you're very considerate with money.
Yeah,
that you don't
because
have.
I wonder how many out here that work their butts off day in and day out for my wife, and probably can't afford to buy them the kids, you know, with the price of living today, and can't buy the kids, you know, something. So I would like it if Patterson had turned that money over to someone. Well, now what are you going to do with it? Where that money go now?
Maybe he left it till Sylvain Grenier.
No, the government got it.
You think the government got it?
Yeah.
Well, in the end, Pat Patterson, he certainly had a very unique career in the king of sports, professional wrestling. Tony, I guess he didn't shed too many tears. I guess the one thing that maybe upset you was that he's the only man that didn't sign your Legends House drawing.
Ain't that weird? Ain't that strange?
I think that's the only thing you wanted from Pat, was for him to sign that poster.
But ain't that weird?
Yeah. He's the only one.
Fuck me again.
Well, I don't know about that. But
Oh, no, I take that back, y'all.
did you ever hear him sing My Way?
Oh, yeah, he's a hell of a singer.
Yeah.
I mean, he gave me one of his tapes at Legend House
He
to
gave
give
you
to my wife.
Like a CD, you mean?
Yeah, CD.
Of him singing.
Yeah, well, I saw him sing. You know, he's amazing.
You like to sing?
Oh, yeah.
More than the personality, I guess.
Well, like I said, he was not an enemy of mine, but he's never let me get too close to him. Put it that way.
All right. All right, Tony, before we go, we had one more passing to mention. I don't think you had a chance to interact with this man too much during your career, but maybe you ran into it at conventions and such afterwards. Someone that the acclaim to fame really came in Hollywood and entered the world of professional wrestling in the movie No Holds Barred. Tom Tiny Lister,
Zeus,
a.k.a. the wrestling fans.
Zeus.
What did you think of Zeus?
I like him.
You've met Zeus?
I like Big Zeus. I met him several times. Always have a joke with me. Good-natured guy. I like Zeus. Like I said, I don't have a lot of interaction with, but we was on a couple of, as you know, conventions together. And I got pictures of me and him together and stuff. And he always liked me, and I liked him. And the funny thing about it, that was my role.
You were going to be Zeus?
I had the strip and everything.
Really? Now, why do you think they went in another direction? Maybe were you too familiar?
No, it was Vince's idea to make me Zeus.
So who changed it?
Who you think?
Hogan?
Who was the booker?
Hogan?
Who was the booker at the time?
Oh, this is for a movie, though.
I know, but who was the booker?
Patterson? You think?
I do.
You think Pat Patterson took the role of Zeus away from you?
Mm-hmm. Why did Vince give me the script?
I didn't know that. But you weren't.
Somebody talked about it.
But you weren't with the company at the time they were making that movie.
I knew about it before they did it. Vince told me the idea about the blonde-haired guy, about the movie.
Well, Zeus didn't have blonde hair.
Yeah, he did it with Butch Reed.
Yeah.
Vince said we were doing the Na-Na.
He said what?
The big album.
What?
It was an album he made.
What?
The music thing with Jimmy Hop. Nah.
The music
Yeah,
album.
they called it the Nah-Nahs. That's what the boys called it. Nah-Nah.
The Nah-Nahs,
They were
yeah.
making these music albums.
Yeah.
And he was telling me all the ideas he had. Because I was appearing on TNT at that time. This back when he had Junkyard Dog. Bundy was there. And he told me all these ideas. So we did the movie. I knew about the movie before it even came out. He told me to strip the whole.
It was an
Killer Caboodle.
idea that he had.
Well, they changed it a little bit.
Yeah.
Hogan was supposed to have got big and got out of shape and lose to this monster. And then he'd work out like Stallone and get back in shape, get in the best shape of life, and come back and win the world title. That's the
Almost
idea.
like kind of like Rocky.
Yeah,
But Hulk didn't want to do the job even in the movie.
right.
Yeah.
And so they changed some of Vince out there. But I remember Vince used to tell me stuff all the time. He used to always talk to me about stuff. About his ideas for stuff. Because I never laughed at them. All the boys, George the Steel, the Animal, they just all used to laugh, say, it would never work. It would never work. He going to kill the business. I hear that all the time when Vince come up with these ideas. Then the old man died. And then Vince put together all of his ideas. Some was a flop, like the bodybuilding, the football. They was a flop, but everything he did pertaining to wrestling, I think he was very successful at it.
Well, I tell you this, Zeus, for a guy that had no wrestling ability, a guy that was Tom Tiny Lister in Hollywood, he came in to headline 3 WWF pay-per-views, so
Yeah.
it was a success from that point of view.
Well, he knew how to listen.
Yeah.
Because if you know how to listen and how to follow orders, did they put you with a seasoned wrestler and they lead you. So he knew how to listen, and they knew how to do it where they could get a match out of him. The old timers knew how to do that.
Well, he was hidden in tags with
And I'm going
Savage
to tell you
and
somebody else that
DB.
was never trained,
hear it.
and walked right in on top and was never trained.
Who's this now?
Nikita Koloff
Really?
was never trained. They pulled him right off the street, teamed him up with Alvin Koloff, and he started learning as he went.
Learned on the road.
Was never trained to be a wrestler.
You know what I think might be an interesting drawing?
And
though?
they made him a big name and pushed him and
Yeah. I think it would
and couldn't wrestle his way out of a wet paper bag.
maybe an interesting drawing, Tony, would be for you to maybe try and recreate the No Holds Barred movie poster. I think that might come up pretty good now that you have me thinking about it. Have you ever seen the No Holds Barred movie poster? But I bet you could do it. All right, well, Tony, we paid tribute to Pat Patterson, who you didn't really shed too many tears about. Zeus, you enjoyed in limited conversations. What I think I find the most amusing, Tony, is that when we were taping an episode of the show at your house this summer, back when we were still kind of banned from the studio, my vision is so bad, I think I told you during one of the episodes, without my glasses on, you kind of look like Tom Tiny Lister to me.
What did I say? All black people look alike?
No, but I'm saying
Oh,
without
yeah,
my
there you are.
glasses, you look like him.
No.
To me.
Oh, I know you, Dan. I'm gonna buy you a hood.
You're gonna Where are you going to get it from? The Murdoch collection? All right, wrestling fans, we are running out of time. Again, it has been a fantastic episode. We thank our longtime close personal friend, Jackie the Joke Man in the control room. He came through when no one else could. We have some news on Christmas that Glantz may be making his return in 2021. Glantz is a man of great controversy, but he is Glantz. He's a man with some great ideas. And I have to show this piece off, Tony. I don't even know if we want to make it available to the fans, but we may be putting it up on the eBay. Look at this picture of the Fiend. Jackie, if you switch to my individual shot, I'll even try and show it off that way, brother. Look, I mean, that is, you put a lot of time into this piece, Tony.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about John Cena Sr.'s piece.
It's all dots.
Yeah, all right, I'm going to put this down now. I don't even want to, I want it for the set. I want it framed. It is absolutely beautiful, Tony. How long does it take to make a piece like that?
I don't count time.
You don't count time.
I
Do you
get
know
about-
how many dots it took?
No, I get up about 7 in the morning, make my coffee, and I start dotting. And then I stop at 10, at 9, and make my breakfast. Then I start back at 11 and keep dotting. And I go back and forth like that until I finish it.
And it's relaxing to you.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is, fans, maybe if you're not a fan of The Fiend or some of the other great drawings we have available, the Road Warriors one that Tony's done for us, and Macho Man Randy Savage and the Young Bucks, you can commission Tony to do a drawing for you of yourself, a family member, a loved one. He'll draw the wrestler of your choice, a family pet. He'll do just about anything except what you call spooky things.
But that, I was scared to do.
You were a little scared of The
I was a
Fiend.
little bit nervous of that Fiend. I said, Dan gonna give me freaking nightmare with this picture.
Well,
That's why I finished it real fast.
All right. Well, imagine if you put even more time into it. It's a beautiful piece. We're going to have some
I
photos.
rushed it so I don't have to look at it long.
All right, wrestling fans, for my partner in crime, the Hall of Fame and Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, we thank you for joining us. If you are on Patreon, join us New Year's Eve. We want to have a little bit of fun. For all of our regular fans, we will be back. Same bad time, same bad station, next Tuesday night at 2 p.m. for the Hall of Fame and Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, still eating. I'm Dan Marty. Until we speak again, you and yours, be well, stay healthy. Good night.
Stay healthy, y'all.
Wrestling fans, we explode into Christmas for the 9th annual Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive Cyber Fan Fest. A human sea of superstar guests have come to MWF Studios for live interviews, tributes, and virtual autograph signings. The good news is, if you miss these superstar signings, we have individual autograph photos available as well as all-inclusive VIP packages throughout the season. If you want them for yourself or to give as a holiday gift for Christmas, get the order in by December the 19th. On Christmas night, we'll reveal the winner of the massive Christmas Week Mega Raffle, where one lucky fan wins an entire jackpot of prizes, again, to benefit the Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive. 2020 has been a brutal year for the economy, as well as our toy drive efforts. We could use any and all the help you could give us. Be part of the professional wrestling community. If you're going to take part in any toy drive this year, let it be one where we update Santa Claus's GPS and honor Paul Bearer's memory. Head on over to BostonWrestling.com now.